You are Locked On Knicks POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, we're back, and a tremendous turnaround, specifically in the second half, and because of it, the Knicks emerge victorious. They escape New Orleans with a win. Final score, 104-93. A big reason for the second half comeback, the captain, Jalen Brunson. He was brilliant in the third and fourth quarters. He pumped in a game-high 39, a season-high 39. New York has now won 5 straight road games. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. If not, welcome aboard. I've spent more than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. You can follow me on X at Jay Berman, Jayberman. Welcome to the Locked On Knicks postcast, both on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel and the Locked On Knicks podcast feed. The postcast gives you a place to hang out after every single Knicks game. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. We'll discuss everything Jalen Brunson, who, as we said, was awesome. He continues to show why he's the leader of the club. Josh Hart returned to the lineup after a 1-game absence. Also, his return to New Orleans. He, of course, spent nearly 3 seasons as a Pelican before coming to New York. We'll discuss all that coming up on the postcast. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Also, your favorite podcast now is a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. Once again, LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. As we said, 104-93. It was ugly, and then it was gorgeous. The Knicks trailed at the half by 4 in New Orleans, a team that has won just 5 games this season. But then the Knicks turned it over to, you guessed it, Jalen Brunson. As we told you, a season-high 39 for Brunson, 29 of those coming in the second half alone. Again, he pumped in 39, 13 of 19 from the floor, 7 of 10 from 3, did not miss a free throw, and he single-handedly brought the Knicks all the way back from 14 down in the third quarter. That's right, folks. At one point, the Knicks trailed by double digits. They trailed by 14 to the 5-win Pelicans. But as we said, Jalen Brunson got hot. The rest of the Knicks picked up the slack as well, especially considering Karl Anthony Towns, lots of foul trouble in this one. Played just 10 minutes in the first half, totaling 3 fouls. Picked up 2 more fouls in the second half. Finished the game with just 27 minutes played, which is not necessarily a bad thing, especially as we get deeper into the season and the dog days, if you will, of winter, the dog days of the hoops season when you know guys are going to need a blow. And Karl Anthony Towns got that, playing just 27 minutes despite the fact that it was because of foul trouble. We'll take it. We'll take the minor victory whenever we can get it. So Karl Anthony Towns had just 3 field goals tonight. But, of course, the story is Jalen Brunson, who played 40 minutes, hit 13 field goals, as we said. 7 of those were 3-pointers. The Knicks have had just 3 different lineups this entire season. Of course, Josh Hart was part of every single one of those starting lineups until the last game in Minnesota when he had to return home for personal reasons. Well, he also returned to New Orleans tonight, played parts of 2.5 seasons with the Pelicans. And Josh Hart, as we said, made his return. He pumped in 14 points in 42 minutes. However, point being, with the exception of the Karl Anthony Towns games that he missed 2 of them, and then Josh Hart, who missed this last game, Those are the only 3 missed games by any of the Knicks' 5 starters this year. Really amazing stuff. As we said, the 2 games that Karl-Anthony Towns missed, the Brooklyn game, which was early in the season, and then obviously the Minnesota game for Josh Hart, who he just missed. And again, he comes back 6 of 13 shooting for Hart in 42 minutes against his old team. We'll get to the plus and minus, which we talk about pretty much every game, and why not? The Knicks have the 8th best plus-minus man in the game in OG Anunoby. And just to give you a little bit of a tease, OG was a plus 17, not the best on the Knicks. We'll get to that coming up. As we said, once again, Jalen Brunson, the star of the night, pumped in 39, dished out 6 assists, 2 steals even. And despite the fact that Karl-Anthony Towns only played 27 minutes, he scored 11 points and grabbed 10 rebounds. Point is, it's a double-double. And that's 17 straight of those for Karl-Anthony Towns, who, again, as we said, played just 10 minutes in the first half after committing 3 fouls. And, folks, the Knicks weren't up. They were losing when they took Cat out. So, obviously, Tibbs was back and forth on how much he should sit Karl-Anthony Towns. He ultimately decided to sit him a lot at the end of the first half, specifically second half of the second quarter. But again, Karl-Anthony Towns played just 27 minutes. 45 for Mikal Bridges, who continues to lead the NBA in minutes per game at nearly 39. Again, played 45, 7 of 16 shooting. Can't make up my mind with Mikal Bridges. Every time you think he turns the corner, not that he necessarily played poorly tonight, but he did miss 9 shots. 7 of 16, was 3 of 6 from behind the line, behind the arc, had 18 points, and was a plus 20. However, those minutes are adding up for Mikal Bridges, who, as we said, leads the league in minutes per game. OG played 37, 42 for Josh Hart in his return to his old stomping grounds, and 40 for Jalen Brunson. Now, as for the plus-minus, as we talked about it, plus 17 for OG, who now is 8th in the league in plus-minus, goes to show just how valuable OG has been on both sides of the ball, really specifically defensively. OG had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, contributing defensively and turning defense into offense. Certainly Jalen Brunson did that. Brunson played 40 minutes, was a plus 25. And just to give you an example of how things were going when the starters were back in there, Precious Achiuwa tonight was a minus 13. Cam Payne a minus 14. Deuce McBride a minus 10. So when the bench dudes were in, obviously things were different than when the starters came in. And Tibbs, who we know loves to play the starters, had to get those guys back in, specifically Jalen Brunson, and he did. Brunson played 40 of 48 minutes. As we said, Josh Hart, who didn't play on the game in Minnesota due to personal reasons, played 81 games last season, missed 1 game, and that did not come as a New York Knicks. So he is now allotted himself a missed game. That's right. Played 81 games last year. This was his first missed game. And in his return, Josh Hart pumped in 14. If you recall, the Knicks played New Orleans back on December 1st at the Garden. And of course, it was a blowout. That was Mikal Bridges' 31-point effort, a 31-point effort that included a career-high 7 3-pointers for Bridges. Again, that came back on December 1st. So about 3 weeks ago, nearly 3 weeks ago, and Bridges returned with another solid performance despite the fact that he missed 9 shots, 18 points, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, did have 3 assists and 2 steals. Knicks had 11 steals tonight, which is remarkable. As for the field goal percentage numbers, 38 of 87 from the floor. They struggled in the first half. Credit to New Orleans defense. They played tough despite the fact they have only 5 wins and missing their 2 best players. Again, 44% from the floor for the Knicks, 38 of 87. They were 15 of 37 from 3. Again, one of the league's best 3-point shooting teams, the Knicks. 15 of 37, and they were 13 of 15 from the line. If you recall, about 2 weeks ago, there was a stretch of 2 or 3 games where the Knicks were horrible shooting from the line. Just terrible. Missing between 5 and 10 free throws every night. And considering they were the best free throw shooting team in the league, it's nice to see them back on board at an 87% clip, 13 of 15. The assist to turnover ratio, 24-16. Not good. 12 of those turnovers coming in the first half. The Knicks average a total of just around 12 turnovers per game. And again, they had 12 in the very first half. All right. We obviously have to look at the schedule coming up. We'll do that. We also have to look at exactly why New Orleans was so shorthanded tonight and their struggles and why the Knicks struggled in the very first half. We'll do all that coming up next. All right, you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states. That includes California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive a $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, today's episode is brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Well, Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a lower cost than branded alternatives. Also, no more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you'll get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a quick 100% online consultation. You could get your free prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's rocketrx.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple. All right, we are back after a 104-93 victory for the Knicks tonight. They beat the Pelicans in New Orleans. What's interesting is the Knicks haven't won in New Orleans in 3 years. The last 2 seasons, obviously the Pelicans have been better than a 5-win team in December, but point is, last 2 seasons, the Knicks have lost their solo game in New Orleans. So good to get back into the win column. As we said, both Zion and Brandon Ingram out, the 2 best players by a lot. Ravaged by injuries were the Pelicans. And despite that, they played tough in the first half. And despite that, they played tough in the first half of the third quarter. They went up 14 points on the Knicks. But the Knicks settled down. Zion has played in just 6 games this season. Brandon Ingram, their next best player, has played in just 18 games this season. They've played 29 total. So lots of man games missing to New Orleans. New Orleans has now lost 21 of 23 since a 3-3 start. They've lost 17 games by at least 10 points. All that being said, because at one point the Knicks, as we said, trailed by 14 in the second half to a team that has just 5 wins on the season. Regardless, the Knicks have now won 5 straight games on the road. Excellent stuff. They're 10-6 away, 18-10 overall. We'll check the standings. In fact, we'll do that right now. The Knicks entered play in the 3 spot, a half game up on the Magic. The Magic are 18-12. Knicks were 17-10 entering tonight. They were a half game up on the Magic, so they'll go to a full game up on the Magic. Knicks are 18-10. Magic are 18-12. Obviously, the Knicks have 2 games in hand, so they're 2 up in the loss column. Now, Cavs and Celtics, 1-2 in the East. Knicks are 3, Magic 4, Bucks and Heat round out the top 6 in the Eastern Conference. All right, we talked about the schedule, and it lightens up, which includes tonight. 5 of the Knicks' next 7 games, including tonight. So now 4 out of the next 6, 5 out of 7, if you include tonight, will be against teams that are among the bottom 4 in the league in winning percentage. Here are those teams. Again, they play New Orleans. They play Toronto. They play San Antonio. They play Orlando and then Washington twice and Utah. So plenty of chances for the Knicks. 1, to maybe reduce some of those playing minutes, and 2, get easy wins. Now, it's the NBA. Everybody plays hard and everybody's talented. So there might not be such a thing as an easy win, especially considering you figured tonight would be an easy win, and it wasn't. But point is, a win is a win in the NBA, and the now 18-10 Knicks have won 5 straight road games. All right, the Knicks defense turned it on late in the first half. If you recall, the Pelicans, who still had a lead at halftime by 4, only had 1 field goal in the final 7 minutes of the first half. So despite the fact that the Knicks went down 14 in the third quarter, the Knicks turned the screws a little bit on the Pelicans just to show them who's boss. And again, they fell behind by 14 in the third quarter before they ultimately make the run to come back, take the lead, and eventually win. However, a strong defensive performance late second quarter, late first half, perhaps set the tone for halftime adjustments, courtesy of Tibbs, and then ultimately the run in the third and the fourth quarter. As we said, Karl-Anthony Towns now has 17 straight double-doubles. He had 11 points and 10 rebounds tonight, also had 4 assists, but as we said, 3 fouls in the first half, played just 10 minutes, 5 fouls total, had 5 fouls and 3 field goals made. Karl-Anthony Towns, just 3 of 10. In fact, he had 2 3-pointers. Cat had 1 2-point basket tonight. Amazing. 3 of 10 from the floor, 2 of 5 from 3, 3 of 3 from the line. As we said, we got to look at the schedule. We'll take a look at the New Orleans Pelicans numbers as well. Quite a few plus minuses there. And we'll also do the plus minus from the Knicks as we take our last break here on the Knicks postcast here on the Locked On Knicks podcast channel. All right, hey, NBA fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. As for tonight's numbers, the Knicks opened as 8.5-point favorites roughly 2 hours before the game. The number came down slightly right before tip-off, down to 7.5. So the number was 7.5 when the game tipped. New York covers. They win by 11. As for the total, it went off at 223.5, so the under comes in by a lot. Again, 104.93, so a total of 197. And again, the total before was 223.5. Remember, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. All right, we're almost out of time here on the Locked On Knicks podcast as the Knicks beat the Pelicans in New Orleans. My name is Jay Berman. You can follow me on X at Jay Berman, Jayberman. Final segment of the show. Knicks beat the Pelicans again, 104-93. The story, Jalen Brunson brings his team back from 14 down in the second half, 29 of a game high, 39 in the second half. In fact, Brunson, his 39, a season high. He had 13 field goals made, 7 3-pointers made, didn't miss a free throw, was 6 of 6, and again, sparked a huge comeback. So excellent performance there from Jalen Brunson, and the Knicks needed it. Without Brunson, they do not emerge victorious tonight. Mikal Bridges had 18 on 7 of 16 shooting. OG Anunoby had 16. He did not have a good shooting night, 6 of 17 from the floor, but of course, contributes across the board. He had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, only 2 turnovers, and was a plus 17 in the plus-minus category. As for the Pelicans, as you would imagine, all 5 starters were minuses. 26 for Trey Murphy. He had 11 field goals, 11 of 18 from the floor. 14 for DeJounte Murray. CJ McCollum had 13. But again, the point here is without Zion playing and without Brandon Ingram playing, well, the Pelicans really don't have a chance, despite the fact that they led by 14 in the second half. Just not enough firepower. A young team, and unfortunately a team that cannot stay healthy, specifically Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. I mean, think about this starting 5 from the Pelicans: Jones, Missy, McCollum, Murray, and Murphy. No disrespect to any of them. There's some good, solid pros in there, but that's not a winning starting lineup. In fact, it's obvious. The Pelicans have 4 wins at home, 5 total, 1 road win the entire season. Tells you all you need to know about the season for the New Orleans Pelicans. All right, let's do some scheduling now. As we said, the Knicks have now won 3 in a row, 5 in a row on the road. And they'll next get Toronto back at home on Monday, 2 days before Christmas. Again, Monday night against Toronto, that's a 7:30 tip time. Then it's a Christmas Day spectacular. Wednesday, December 25th at the Garden, noon tip time, as you're opening the gifts against the San Antonio Spurs. So 2 home games, the 23rd and the 25th, Monday and Wednesday, Toronto and San Antonio respectively. Then back out on the road, Orlando, Washington twice in Washington. Next Friday will be in Orlando, next Saturday in Washington, then the following Monday in Washington again. That's December 30th, before the Knicks return home for January 1st, New Year's Day, against the lowly Utah Jazz. So again, some winnable games in there. Not that any game isn't winnable for the Knicks. They're one of the best teams in the NBA, but you get the point. These are games the Knicks should win and likely will win. All right, your favorite podcast now has a new newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. Also want to mention our partners in crime. We know them as the All-Stars. Locked On Knicks, Gavin Shaw and Alex Wolf. They handle all the stuff there. They're the best, so follow, subscribe, and enjoy. The Knicks beat the Pelicans tonight in New Orleans, 104-93. The Pelicans are now 5-24, while the Knicks are 18-10. And as we said, in the standings, the Knicks are in sole possession of 3rd place now in the standings. The Magic beat the Heat tonight, 121-114. So the Magic, as we said, remain a game behind the Knicks in the standings. As we said for the schedule, 2 at home, 3 away. Toronto, San Antonio, Orlando, Washington twice away before the new year hits. All right, folks, you've been watching the Knicks Postcast here on the Locked On Knicks Postcast channel. The Knicks beat the Pelicans. It was fun, 104-93. As we said, Monday night will be our next Knicks Postcast after the Knicks and the Raptors.